we're here to discuss. Of course, I've got the video.
Superb.
Some kind of one.
Oh,
Look
man,
at that.
is that a signature?
Yeah, Leah Thompson.
Oh, what? That is amazing.
And what's really cool, I'll brag about this. She signed it for me in London, I think it was. And she was like, "Oh, that's really small." So she turned it around and she did.
Oh, that's lovely.
So I got 2 for 1.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good.
You're fairly new to this film.
I am. I've got a digital copy of it, for God's sake. And I so rarely buy digital. It's that, there's nothing there to hold, nothing tangible about it. So I shy away from digital, but I was like, I need to watch this film.
How did it pass you by, do you reckon?
I have no idea. I don't know, because one of our prints we do is a John Hughes inspired like VHS stack, and I even include it there. And I even at that point I hadn't seen it.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I don't even know why I didn't just dive straight in and check it out. But I don't know. It just passed me by until recently. But in a way, I'm kind of glad, because it was something new to add. It was. I always love finding something old but new. Something that's new to me.
I always say to people, it's always interesting to see how good a film is when you see it with fresh eyes.
Absolutely, rather than getting wrapped up in the
rose-tinted glasses kind of syndrome.
Absolutely, yeah. Rather than growing up with it, and yeah, absolutely. But I really liked it. To be fair, I really like. I've seen it a couple of times now, but I really like it. Yeah,
wicked. Because originally released in February 1987 in America. For those who, I'm sure everybody watching knows John Hughes' background and the classic films he's done, like 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink, which this has a lot of kind of nods to in a way. But because a lot of people say this is like a reworking of Pretty in Pink.
I actually read, I did a bit of homework, obviously. I actually read that one of the sites I read on suggested that John Hughes intentionally rewrote Pretty in Pink with some kind of wonderful, with the intention of getting the ending that he originally wanted for Pretty in Pink, whereby he wanted Andy to end up with Ducky. Howard Dutch and the whole production crew behind it went against that. And this time round it was John Hughes' way of getting what he wanted.
Absolutely. And I'll ask you this. It's like, I don't want to say I was late to this film. I saw it a few years afterwards, but I was always big. At that point, I was a big John Hughes fan, loved Ferris Bueller and Weird Science, which is probably my favorite John Hughes film. So this one I watched this a few years later. I think probably when I picked up that VHS copy on some market stall or something like that.
Okay.
But it only came out like a year after Pretty in Pink. But to me, it seems like such a massive time difference.
You know what? I would have said exactly the same thing. It didn't dawn on me until reading about it today where they were consecutive years.
Yeah.
But, Some Kind of Wonderful almost feels closer to the 90s.
Absolutely. You'd say it was like 5 or 6 years later.
Absolutely. It seems far more contemporary. Maybe some of that is also that, as that drab as it sounds, the technicalities of how they were produced. I mean, when you watch Pretty in Pink, I think it actually, be it the film they've used or whatever, it feels more dated. Like There's more grain to the film. It feels more, and even the colours used, they seem more subdued. And whereas with this, especially with it being in California and sun-soaked, it just seems so much more vibrant.
I wonder if that's it, because it's set in California rather than Chicago, where all of John Hughes' films previously were.
Possibly.
Yeah. It just seems like such a big time difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You mentioned it there, Howard Deutsch. I don't know if you pronounce it Howard Deutsch. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
He also directed Pretty in Pink, but he also ended up marrying Leah Thompson, who's in this film, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's strange, isn't it? Yeah. I think that was the point at which they met, apparently, or at least when they got together,
Yeah. For people who've not seen this film, quick synopsis on it. Keith Nelson, played by Eric Stoltz, is an artsy high school outcast. I won't call him an outcast. I think he's more like an everyman regular guy. Tries to land a date with popular girl Amanda Jones, played by Leah Thompson, with some help from his tomboy best friend Watts, played by Mary Stuart Masterson, who steals the entire film, in my opinion. However, his advances draw the attention of Amanda's snobby ex-boyfriend Hardy, who makes plans to get even.
Dude, he's James Spader on steroids, for sure.
Matters are further complicated when Watts realizes she likes Keith as more than just a friend and tries to convince him to stop pursuing Amanda. So on the outside, it's a pretty much your straightforward love triangle, I guess. But I don't know. I think there's different layers to this film, especially I rewatched it recently, and I think I enjoyed it more than I did a few years ago when I dived back into it. It's not your usual teen film. I think interestingly, Amanda Jones, Leah Thompson's character, could have easily just been the rich, hot girl, but she's very much, I don't know if she's middle class or working class like Eric Stoltz. And
I think they kind of suggest she's from their neighborhood, don't they?
Exactly,
at one point?
yeah.
So they layer her up a little bit as well. She's not just this two-dimensional character. They give her, there's something more there. She's already punching above her station, so to speak.
Yeah, but she's accepted in the kind of rich crowd, so she's almost playing a role herself.
Yeah, and and I think she feels that she's had to earn her position, and he's possibly going to bring her back down, which I guess in the eyes of her friends, that is the case. That is what's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, the cast brings Eric Stoltz and Leah Thompson together after they'd worked together on Back to the Future, which I find kind of interesting.
They'd also worked together on The Wildlife as well in 1984.
I don't know if I've seen that,
It's not bad. That's another one I got 2 or 3 years ago, discovered it. And
I know Van Halen are all over the soundtrack. I think Eddie Van Halen did an instrumental soundtrack for most of that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. This Cameron Crowe film, I think it was perhaps his studio follow-up to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's even got Sean Penn's brother in the lead.
Right.
And Eric Stoltz and Leah Thompson are playing together again, more or less, very similar to how they do here, really. Eric Stoltz is the everyman, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Eric Stoltz's character and persona? I mean, there's the whole Back to the Future story of he doesn't have the comedic timing.
You know what I also read today was that Michael J. Fox turned this down as well. Like he got a first shot at it and turned it down, which... Again, some two pitched against each other again, isn't it?
It's so weird. Thing that follows him around.
They're not quite interchangeable, but also they're not unlike one another. I suppose Eric Stoltz he's like a serious version of Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Right? He's quite straight and serious, whereas, Michael J. Fox is more cute and funny.
Absolutely. I think it works in this style of film as well, because for most of John Hughes's films, very comedy-based, where this isn't really comedy at all. There's a few light-hearted moments in it, but...
No, with Weird Science is outright comedy, I suppose. Probably my favourite as well.
Really? Oh, I'm not alone then.
No. I know it's on one hand you could say it's the most disposable for that very reason, that it's just an outright comedy, but it's just my favourite. I just love it. I think there's so many quotable lines in it. It's just top to bottom. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it never slows down. But yeah, I love Eric Stoltz's portrayal in this. Even though he's the leading man, he doesn't fight for the attention on screen, I think.
No, he's quite subtle, isn't he? It's quite a subtle approach. You just
definitely,
absolutely,
especially on that dining room scene where his sister's
just grilling him.
She can't believe she's going out with Amanda J. He just sits back really casually and
he kind of takes it all on the chin, doesn't he? And he just, I don't know, he comes out better for it, I guess.
Yeah, and in that scene, obviously, we see his dad, John Ashton from Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
this scares me. John Ashton's 40 years old in this film.
Oh my gosh! I'm constantly scared by this. Sam will whenever we're watching anything, Sam will be like, "He's your age," and I'm like, "What?" Or like, it scares me. It makes me realise that I'm not going to be 17 forever.
What was it? Why do people look so old back then? Though?
I don't know. That's a generational thing, isn't it? Like adults look like adults then, whereas now it's kind of we're all pushing the boundary a little bit.
It's crazy. Strange. I think all the main three cast were all like mid-20s.
They were, they were Elias Koteas, Eric Stoltz, and Leah Thompson. They were all born in 66, was it? Or 61,
the classic maybe? Case of 80s films.
Yeah, 25-year-olds
playing high school students.
Yeah.
You mentioned Elias Koteas there. He plays Duncan in the film, the skinhead, the punk rocker skinhead.
Yeah.
He steals it. Well, other than Mary Stuart Masterson, I think he's a shining light in this film.
Yeah, he's got some spark about him, though, hasn't he? He's just pretty cool.
Yeah. Just the fact that Eric Stoltz befriends all them lot as well in the most unlikely kind of ways. I think that's a really cool slant on this film.
Yeah. I guess did he earn Duncan's respect by landing in detention?
I think so, yeah.
The John Bender, the fire alarm. Did that earn him some points with them? And then there was like a mutual friendship.
And it's just
mutually responding to each other's art.
Yeah, that's the best bit where it's like, it's just the face signals and stuff like that. Apparently he was like, people were blown away by his performance on screen. So his role just got bigger and bigger throughout the entire film, to the point where, no spoilers, but there's a scene at the end of the film at a big house party where he wasn't even intended to be there. And so they filmed it and then came back and reshot that scene where he arrives at the party, which is why eagle-eyed, well, it's not really, you don't really need an eagle eye to see it. It looks like Eric Stoltz was wearing a wig because his whole haircut has changed by that point.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on that.
Rewatch it.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So I guess they thought they needed him and his presence at the party to...
Yeah, it's like, we've got to have him back in towards the end of the film, at least.
Yeah.
I always kind of associate this film as being like the one before John Hughes went into more...
Christmas films.
Yeah, Christmas films and younger, like kiddie territory sort of thing, as in like Home Alone and all that kind of...
Yeah, they did suggest that it was his... They actually said his second to last teen film. There being one in 1998. Again, I didn't recognise it at all.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to bring up. There is one in 1991 called Career Opportunities. Or
that as well. You know what? Yeah, I like that as well.
I don't know what his role is on that. Was he just a producer, or I'm not sure.
He wasn't this at the point he basically didn't leave Chicago. He just took a backseat, writer, producer, never came on to direct.
But the one in 1998 I'd never heard of, called Reach the Rock.
That's the one. Yeah, and I still don't know anything about it. But
I did a quick search, like, I've got to find this. Went on eBay. It's nowhere to be found. I thought I might get a £1.50 with free postage DVD, but there's nothing like that.
Okay, did it not get a DVD release, Brad?
It does in America. You can get it from America and stuff, but
who's in it? Do you know anything about it?
Nobody. There's William Sadler from Death out of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He's in it. But
so he's a parent in it, perhaps.
Yeah, that or a police officer or something.
Okay.
So, I've got to add that to the list, I think.
I know, I've got to see it. I've got to check it out. It's just surprising, isn't it, when you uncover these new, you just when you think you know a lot.
Exactly.
It's like, what?
One thing which I thought was interesting going back and watching this film was, there's a main not a twist, but a main point in this story where Heath blows a lot of money to impress Amanda Jones on the date, which is just outright crazy.
Yeah. I didn't actually see that coming. I was kind of like, is this necessary? It's like a first date. They're talking about like they've been going out for months.
First date.
And it's like, I was kind of a bit like, really? Is this a believable part of the film?
Yeah, it's a little bit too full on in that extent, because he's like, there's bits where he's like following her around, which is a bit creepy, a bit stalkerish.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a bit intense at that. Yeah.
And he paints her a picture. First date again. I'm sure any girl would be like, whoa, where's this guy coming from?
Yeah, it's heavy-handed even for John Hughes, though, isn't it, that bit? You're kind of like...
I think that's one of the themes, though. He's trying to prove a point, is he? That
he can punch with the best of them. He can, I don't know, afford her all the same opportunities that Hardy Jens can afford her or something like that. Is that what he's getting at?
I guess so, yeah. Must be something like that. That's one of the themes it's trying to go for. But
yeah. Seemed unnecessary, though.
Yeah. But a lot of people say, like, oh, why didn't you realise that Watts was so hot right from the beginning?
Yeah.
But I think the storyline is they grew up as kids together, so it wasn't...
Didn't recognise it in each other.
Yeah.
We weren't on each other's radars in that sense.
But yeah, she steals the show. She looks amazing in it and just a sort of cool character.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she is fantastic. Yeah.
So you'd recommend this, I guess, then, watching it with fresh eyes?
I would do, yeah. It certainly slots in amongst those others. I mean, when I think of those Hughes movies and those teen era films, it's always Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, Weird Science. But I think this slots in well. Yeah. It's quite fresh in that it is taken from, I don't know, the West Coast perspective rather than this, Middle America kind of Chicago that the rest of them were based in.
And one definitely, I think it's one you can keep going back to and seeing different things
Yeah, you can mine it for new things each time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm probably going to watch it again next week. I wanted to bring you on because obviously you helped me record the latest straight-to-video song, I Go Crazy by Flesh for Lulu, which is on the soundtrack to this film. This soundtrack is a great soundtrack. Apparently, lots of songs were recorded specifically for the film rather than them casting out a net to find out songs that suited the film, which is pretty cool. And I Go Crazy is one of them.
Because there's instrumentals throughout as well, isn't there? It's obviously built. Was it built for the film, or was it built around the film? Or did
maybe. I think John Hughes had a specific idea in mind for the whole theme. Well, music's obviously a massive part of all of John Hughes's films. So this was perhaps, I don't want to say his pinnacle, but perhaps one where he was
used it to help carve the film, take it in a certain direction. And he was certainly playing on that kind of Los Angeles in that era, in the late 80s, where it was just kind of post-punk. And I guess these guys slot in perfectly because they've got that kind of Billy Idol kind of vibe. It's polished punk to an extent. And
you had a massive input in this cover version song. How was it for you going in and learning the parts for the song?
To be honest, I really enjoyed doing it. Yeah, I loved doing it. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic song. And given that I've always considered myself strictly somebody who hides behind the guitar and a guitarist, and only really breaking that to do vocals recently, it really kind of challenged me. But I loved it. I loved doing it. It was fantastic, and I've always wanted to work on straight to video. Anyway, I've been listening to it for years. So I remember me and Sam, my wife, would be in the workshop building our lamplight creations, our lights and everything, and we'd have the straight to video album on in the background over and over and over.
A soundtrack. That's the whole point.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. No, so to become a part of it, fantastic.
Wicked. No, you make the track, man. It's always great. I just kind of sit in the background and just let people do the thing. I like bringing people together. And
no, you orchestrate the whole thing, and no, that's a far greater job than anything else.
Nice one, mate. So, what are you working on at the moment? What films are inspiring you right now with Dyslexic Heart Designs, which you do?
I try to broaden our catalogue by encompassing new titles and new films. I'm trying to move towards the 90s just to widen our catalogue, because my 80s palette is quite limited. I keep going back to those John Hughes films, keep going back to those 80s
I'm rocking my Thunder Road shirt here. Look,
I've only just noticed. That's fantastic. That's cool.
I've been rocking it for about a week now. I don't think it'll come off.
Oh, mate, that's great. I didn't even notice. That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, that's good. It looks good. Explorers is one of my go-tos. It's so strange that I keep going back to these teen and kid films. I can't kind of leave that alone. No matter how much older I get, I just can't leave it alone. It's like, I don't know, that adolescence is just, I don't know, it's ingrained into my DNA, that and nostalgia, obviously.
What attracts you to nostalgia, mate? I've come to my honesty with it is I think I'm forever chasing missed opportunities. That's my thing, I reckon, which I don't know if that makes any kind of sense.
That's something I'd like to get my head around that. In what sense, missed opportunities?
Like I perhaps spent so much time watching all this shit rather than actually doing stuff. It's like, I could have been that person. I could have done that.
Yeah, living vicariously through the characters on screen. Is that what you're saying? Definitely a part of that. And perhaps, I don't know, perhaps sometimes they generate this world inside your mind as you're watching them that is, I don't know, enveloping and comforting somehow. And that's probably what I've been rewatching them a lot of the time. They become a comfort zone for me in some respect. It's so hard to pin down what nostalgia is or what we find so attractive about it.
What films are going to be the gateway for the kids? How old are they now?
The Jacksons just turned 5. And my daughter Ren is just turned 2 on Christmas Eve. You know what? I kind of desperately want to railroad them into the classics, Goonies, Ghostbusters, Gremlins, all those Back to the Future, all those adventure films. But I'm also restraining myself desperately and biding my time because I don't want to have them fall flat for landing too soon. You know what I mean? Right. So I'm kind of holding Jackson back.
I think you're in a unique position where you kind of work on that kind of stuff all the time. So you've got the artwork surrounding you and the images in the background. You've got the posts and stuff. So there's probably going to be the odd day where they say, "Oh, what's that? That looks cool."
Yeah,
come with me. Let me show you.
Yeah, I'd love to believe they will come across this on their own, but they, with me as a dad, they won't get away from it. At some point, I'm going to go, right, he's 7, you can watch Goonies now. We'll check it. Well, to be honest, I'm trying to tell myself he'll be ready for that when he's like 9 or 10, so he can at least imagine himself amongst them and, have his imagination go crazy with the whole thing. But it's hard. It's hard restraining myself. We've just exposed him to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I guess is like a Goonies light. Yeah. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. That and Problem Child. I know it's kind of daft titles, but like they're the films I considered age appropriate, and he just loves them. Like we have a movie night every Friday night, and oftentimes he'll just ask to rewatch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or it's good. Which is lovely. Yeah, and at some point that'll evolve into Goonies, Back to the Future, Explorers.
Yeah. Let me show you Porky's. Discover that one on you. So what are you working on music wise? I believe you've got some new Nightfire stuff in the program.
I don't know whether it's going to be another EP, or I don't know if I'm ambitious enough to go for an album. I'm totally ticking away. I've got music done for, I don't know, 6 or 8 of the songs now, and then I've got a couple more that are further on that. Obviously I'll let you hear a copy of Fast Times and Nowhere Nights, the next kind of video single I'm going to put out. So I've got 2 tracks that are at that stage, done and dusted and ready for me to do something with. And I've got others that I'm working on in the background. I think the thing I find hardest with, again, I don't consider myself a vocalist. I kind of do it out of necessity these days because all my former colleagues and bandmates kind of hung up their spurs at one time or another and kind of they aged out, and I guess I didn't. I just carried on doing it, and yeah, so it's more out of necessity that I have to do vocals. But that's also a hurdle and a stumbling block because I love writing and recording the music, but then it's like this needs vocals now, and I'll have to sit and draw something out of myself. It's quite, I don't know, I find it quite challenging. I enjoy doing it, but I find it's difficult. It doesn't come naturally to me.
No, it always sounds great, mate. I've said that from the beginning, so I'm excited to what you do next, and everyone should check it out because your videos are always really cool as well. What you put together,
I just try and create an aesthetic with that. Really, again, it's a recurring theme with me, but it's all nostalgia. Really, it's all like the songs are even in that vein. I'm trying to press the 80s kind of pop that I grew up with, which would be Michael Jackson, for God's sake, Cyndi Lauper, all that kind of stuff, and then I'm kind of molding that into the 90s rock that I came of age in, and finding somewhere in the middle. So they're kind of like these dusty pop songs drowned in fuzz and noise. And then similarly, the videos, I'm trying to get there with the videos as well. I'm trying to create we've almost got that shoegaze kind of feel to them, like loud colours and duo tones, and the videos. I use stock footage sites, the way it's free to use stock footage or whatever, and I just kind of build these almost like a tapestry where I'll just build something nostalgic and
right. Yeah, it always works, dude. It always works. So yeah, I'll put all the links for people to check out the stuff on YouTube because there's some great videos out there, and they can check out the Nightfire stuff on Spotify. Is it available anywhere else?
It's on Amazon Music, iTunes, all the rest of it. My first EP is anyway. This new stuff. I'll probably put it out I'll probably try and put it out on iTunes or something. It's just nice to know it's out there, even if it's not being pushed or not being heard necessarily. It's nice to know it's there. Kids one day might discover it and be embarrassed by it. So.
Well, to end things, I'm going to throw the question to you, which I throw everybody on my podcast just lately. I'll put you on the spot, but I want you to time travel to a Friday night in the late 80s or early 90s, head into the video store. What movie soundtrack have you got on your Walkman, and what 3 films would you pick for the weekend?
Oh my God. Movie soundtrack? Oh geez. Would be Lost Boys.
Oh, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
No.
You could probably pick it up at a decent price back then rather than how much it goes for now, which is mind-boggling to me.
I think I've got it on vinyl, actually. Does it go for...
I think it goes for pretty decent money, someone told me the other day, which is crazy because it was a huge album back in the day, so there's got to be thousands of copies of it around.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know, but that's great. Videos for the weekend that's a toughie.
It can change next week, so first ones that pop in your mind.
Yeah, okay.
Which ones was you always renting, which you'd rent numerous times?
In the 80s, it was a strange stop-frame animation film called Mad Monster Party. It's weird, but I'm going to show that to Jackson at some point as well. It's kind of a precursor to Nightmare Before Christmas, if you like. It's kind of pretty cool. I guess it's where Adam Sandler got his idea for, I don't know, what's that? Those Transylvania movies he's been doing recently.
Okay, yeah.
Similar thing, but in the 80s. That would be one of my 80s videos. 90s seems such a difficult question considering I was at the video shop so frequently. Oh, man.
What was your local video shop like? Pre-Blockbuster?
It was great. We had two, actually. We didn't have a Blockbuster because I guess our town's too small for that. We had a couple of independents. We had one called West End Video, which was this little nook, this little hole in the wall kind of store that was just, oh, man. It was fantastic. It was my happy place. Even when I was a kid, my dad would take us there on a Friday afternoon, Friday night, straight after school. Me and my sister would pick out some films. Like I say, I'd pick Mad Monster Party, usually some Tom and Jerry cartoon videos. I don't know. My dad would probably get like Jaws 2 or something. I don't know. And then we got a bigger video store called Video World, and that was just fantastic. It was like that typical
like going
80s
into America.
Pseudo-modern.
It's got to be like in America.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. That was my first look into commercial space in America. You know, the grey kind of Memphis pattern carpets and a couple of arcade machines. Jeez, dude, it's got an arcade machine. They've got Street Fighter 2. Yeah. Pretty cool. Go in there with my mates on a Friday night, rent something, right into our late teens.
Any obscure 90s films? Because that's when things got a bit weird and lot of forgotten films.
Oh, man, you know I'm going to say Rollerboys with that one. It's my go. It's kind of like, I see it. This is really strange. I see it as a surrogate sequel to Lost Boys. It's kind of like, instead of vampires, they're kind of skating Nazis.
Yeah.
And you've even got Corey Haim in there for good measure. But it just feels like that. This intimidate, to me, it's like a surrogate sequel to Lost Boys. Yeah. And that was one I actually rented quite a lot as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Video World. Yeah, that was. That Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Kirsty Swanson. Yeah, that was probably one. Yeah, I know these are kind of discarded titles by today's measure.
Was Luke Perry in that version?
Yes. Yeah. Scream, all that 90s horror as well. I was into it at the time. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
It was such a resurge back then, and it's
revamp of the slasher genre for sure.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, what year was Scream? Someone quote me and tell me I'm wrong, but was it like 96 or something like that?
Was it even that late on? Yeah, I'd buy 96. Yeah, I'd buy that.
It seemed like such a long time that horror had been at the cinema, but it's only a couple of years since they've been like the last few Elm Street films. Like
Yeah. I suppose it's a bit of a lull. Early 90s. When I think of the early 90s, I tend to think of like thrillers like Fugitive, and those kind of was a spark for thriller film, and horror kind of ducked a little bit, and I guess thrillers popped up there. And then the late 90s, resurgence, slasher movies. Was it Kevin Williamson brought them back? Was it? Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So, any of those Scream, Urban Legends.
Yeah.
All of those.
13 Ghosts.
I was big into all those. Yeah. 13 Ghosts, that was great. Yeah.
Wicked. James, thank you for chatting with me, mate.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm sure people will be like, who's this? Why has he got him on the show? But I guess I've got... you can argue. I've got some relevance. I worked on the straight to video song with you, so I've got some relevance.
Everybody check it out. Some Kind of Wonderful, and go listen to our version of I Go Crazy.
Absolutely. The video for I Go Crazy is fantastic as well, by the way.
All right, mate. Well, you take it easy.
Okay, mate. Great speaking. Take care.